going to be a really interesting presentation just from the few words that Keith and I have exchanged tonight. It's got a obviously very keen mind when it comes to technology and trends in the internet media space, so I'm really looking forward to it. So strap yourselves in for the presentation and please welcome our chairman for this evening, Bhuvan.
Good evening, guests and fellows. It's my pleasure to give you a brief outline of Keith and what he's going to present. KeithSherringham has over 15 years of experience in business consulting in corporations and government at executive level. He's a noted author and speaker on the business applications of ICT and has been a visiting faculty at various universities in Australia. Keith is a company director and former director for not-for-profits, as well as mentor to CEOs and boards with not-for-profits. He's also a former board director of the Australian Computer Society, where he gave his time and effort in providing value to the IT community. Keith is a winner of the Consensus IT Professional Award. Last year, Keith's unique software package with a significant mobile element to it for iPhones and Androids has helped charity fundraising, won an award for charity fundraising. Keith's company, Valued Communities, provides a range of unique services to business as well as clubs and organizations. The success of Valued Communities is based on the placement of the household and the grassroots community at the center of the value chain. Valued Communities is an innovator of note in market convergence, market reorganization, and emergence of micro payments with social networking. Through Valued Communities, Keith is an ambassador in helping charities and community groups raise funds for their causes with minimum cost. Tonight's talk titled Fundraising in the Internet Age will explain to us how fundraising is rapidly changing and how Rotary should keep up with it. Guests and fellows, please welcome KeithSherringham.
After an introduction like that, I'm not quite sure how I can keep up with that, but we'll give it a go. I'm going to try and keep this informal for 20 minutes. If I go on too long, Mr. Sergeant, bang the gong at, what is it, 20 minutes?
You got half an hour. We're running ahead of time.
Now, I've just got to work out how to drive the technology. And why isn't that screen changing?
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
We're projecting the slideshow onto there. Let me just try one more thing. We actually had all this working a moment ago. And the technology is fading in. So, anyway, so whilst my learned colleague from the technology industry gets this going, can you move forward to the next slide?
Good question.
Anyway, we'll try. Alright, okay, something worked. So I did it. Something worked. So, we all know how hard it is to raise. We all know how hard it is to raise funds. I don't have to tell anybody in the room that. We all know that when somebody comes into the office to sell raffle tickets, people tend to run away and hide. And it's because it's not relevant to them, they're not seeing the benefit of it, and they don't know what happens to their money. Now, I'll see you're all about to jump on your bikes and cycle around Australia. How do you take that and link it with the online world? How do you reach Gen iPhone? Is it Gen iPhone now, or are we up to Gen iPad?
Apple's so passe.
Okay, Gen Samsung Galaxy.
Yes.
How do you make this relevant to Gen Samsung Galaxy? Let me try moving forward again with the slides. Okay, around the world, within communities of Australia or wherever it is, there is a need to support grassroots. We know that. Who's married with 3 kids and 3 grandchildren and 7 nieces? Or 6 nieces? Who's married with 2 kids and 2 grandchildren? Anybody? You know that you live in multiple communities. You have to, the average household supports between 10 and 15 different interests that the household has to pay for. We know that we're forever paying up. You pay your fees to the sports club. The sports club pays the state body. The state body pays the national body, and the national body representatives go to the Olympics and have the $30,000 lunch. There's very little money coming back down to grassroots. In the average household, they rob Peter to pay Paul. They ask money from family and friends to pay for their son to go on the trip for the school camp, the school band, or whatever it is. Next week, they're giving money back to the aunts and uncles to support their families and friends. Charities, how do they re-engage with their base? How does the NRL re-engage with its base? Now, I'm going to be blunt. Who under this room is under 40? There's lovely lady, she's 21 over here. Who in this room is under 50? A wider audience. Okay, now let me put it blunt to you. How do you get guys like our distinguished guest here engaged? That's your challenge.
Go to Indian web.
Sorry? It's got to be online. Well done. We'll talk about that more in a minute. Well, what's also happening is that every 20-year-old that I've met, every 22-year-old I met, whilst they've been talking to me and taking pictures as they talk to me on this, they have all the goals and aspirations and passions as everybody else does. However, what they're saying is, I've seen my parents get shafted and whatever it is. I'm prepared to put some time and effort into volunteerism, but I'm seeing all these paid people over here doing whatever. Hang on, something's not right. If you look at the swimming club, the bowling club, it's almost impossible to get anybody to be a treasurer anymore because of the compliance, the red tape, all of those sorts of things. With fundraising, we always seek accountability and transparency of what happens to our money. And one of the big ones is all fundraising right now is organisation-centric. I'll give you a classic example. There was a certain cancer foundation that shall remain nameless that had a relationship with Netball Australia. I've probably given the game away now. They broke that relationship with Netball Australia because Netball Australia could only raise 15 grand for that cancer foundation. Anybody play netball here? Yes. Anybody have a cousin, nephew, niece that plays netball? To get 15 grand out of netball is amazing. We know how bankrupt Netball Australia is. So this is the problem. How are we going to fund it? And quickly, many organisations are not geared for payments. So for example, are you hooked into PayPal to receive PayPal payments? Yes. How many other organisations are? You find that most of them aren't. How many are hooked in to receive BPay? How many are hooked in to receive payments by mobile phone texting? Right. Let's just see if I can get these slides to move forward. Okay, this scene on the right, what's wrong with this scene on the right?
No one's talking to each other.
That's what's right with it. What's wrong with it?
It's all girls.
It's all girls?
It's almost like kids.
But also, if you have half an eye for technology, you will see that the laptop that the young lady is using is so outdated now that they would be having iPads and all of that sort of thing. But that, without wanting to stereotype, is Gen Y. Gen iPhone, Gen iPad. Now, there are thousands of sites out there online seeking donations. The classic is Everyday Heroes. If you know about them, they have relationships with all of the major charities, and you can go online and donate. There's lots of organisation-specific ones online, and there's lots of crisis-specific, like the recent floods and the bushfires and that sort of thing. Getting into PayPal, we've talked about the banks and all of the corporate foundations. Rotary's got good links into lots of businesses and that sort of side, but there's still a lot of work to do in that area with all the foundations. Crowd surfing. Has anybody heard that term? Would you like to say what it is? Okay, there was another voice that said yes. Can I? Okay. Crowd surfing is not throwing the Premier off the stage and catching them in the crowd. It's hitting up all of your friends to make a donation to something. And there are thousands of networks on Facebook and Twitter and all of those sorts of things. One of the big problems with crowd surfing is, where's the governance, where's the accountability, where's the transparency? How do you know what happens to your money? Microloans, anybody heard of those? Yes. There's quite a lot of Indian entrepreneurs doing microloans. What happens is, I give Bhuvan a Christmas present for 20 bucks, which is a loan to a little guy somewhere in Somalia, let's say, to buy a tractor. The loan gets repaid slowly. Bhuvan's a nice guy, he reloans the money. Without wanting to tell Rotary its business, we have a stockbroker in the room. An ex-stockbroker? There's an opportunity for you. Facebook and Twitter, we all know Facebook, we all know Twitter, and selling Christmas online and gifts online. The other one trend that's starting to emerge is games. You farm a cow, the cow becomes successful, it feeds the village, you move up a level in the game, you move up a level in the game, you get to buy another cow, your $10 goes off and buys a cow for somewhere on the other side of the world. This is the things that these guys on the right-hand side of the screen are doing. Right, let's see if we can move forward to the next slide. Okay. I'm now going to do the commercial plug for what I'm involved with without trying to make it too much of a sales pitch. Grassroots organisations, whether they're a Tier 1 charity, the local sports club or the local school, they need an integrated end-to-end platform, an integrated solution for fundraising. So from the moment that you engage on your iPhone, it's a seamless process to the funds ending up back at the organisation's bank account, tagged for the specific purpose for which the funds were raised. Anybody play the pokies in here? Pokies. How much money going into the pokies gets back to the surf club?
I don't know.
Anybody guess?
20%.
20%? Anybody want to go less than 5?
0.5%? 3.
The average is between 3 and 5%. So you go into the RSL, and I'm not picking on the RSL, you go into the Catholic club, let's say. Any Catholics in the room? I've just offended, sorry. Of all the money going through that pokie machine, by the time the clubs take their money out, the pokie machine takes the money out, the government takes their tax out, you get a small return. 4% or less is actually being put into the surf club, the bowling club, and everything else. And do we really want to have clubs propped up by addicted gamblers? Okay. One of the challenges, you get phone banked by a professional call centre for a recognised charity. How much goes to the charity?
It depends.
Go on.
50%.
Sorry?
50?
50?
10.
10?
30.
30? It varies.
It depends on the charity.
It depends on the charity and it depends on the phone banker.
It can be even 90%.
Yeah,
So I
if-
check with them before
Yes.
I check and double check as
Yeah. If you stay listed for 2 years, as much as 60% can get back to the charity. This is average. If you leave within the first year, up to 90% goes to the phone banking company. And how do we get the money going to grassroots? This is the issue. Charities, there's a lot of people doing a lot of voluntary good work, but a lot of it is paid professionals. Sporting clubs, totally different exercise. Voluntary referees, voluntary announcers, voluntary coaches. If you're playing water polo in the A grade, it's costing you 60 grand a year to play first grade water polo. How do we fund that? That's the nut that we're trying to address. So we put together a platform that's integrated end to end, puts the money directly into grassroots, whole thing is transparent, it gives clubs sustainable, incremental, ongoing revenues, and it's compliant with all the legislation. I don't need to tell you how many people do a whip around amongst their friends, then come to Rotary and say, help me with the money because I can't manage it, I don't know what to do, I don't want to get in trouble with the government. Happens all the time. So what I'm going to do is keep going through the slides very quickly, and then we'll talk a little, then I hope to give you a quick online demo that'll work. So very quickly in our platform, what we've got is, we've got a series of fundraising activities like raffles, tipping competitions, sweepstakes, fees, sponsorships, donations, and together we put it around the account management, the funds management, managing all the goals and campaigns, and the big ones is safe, secure, transparent, compliant, and it's not gambling. So, you get a text message or an email from a friend saying, will you pay $2 to do a sweepstake on who's going to win the Liberal seat for St Ives, with the money raised going to buy boots for the St Ives under-12s rugby team. You know who the message is from, you know what the purpose is, you pay your $2, have a bit of fun, may or may not win a small prize, and you know whether the money's being spent to buy boots for the St Ives under-12s rugby because you know the chairman. So, Boobin is the chairman. He gets all this money coming in, so takes me down the pub on a Friday night. You don't get the boots, you can now hold Boobin to account. Or sorry, I should have that done the other way around. I'm just offended one of your guests, one of your distinguished members. Well, let me move on. So what I want to do is tie this back, and then I'll give you a little demonstration in a minute, is what are the opportunities for Rotary here, globally, and across the country? And it comes back to the original question, how do you engage Gen Y? So, all of the things we've talked about, like using Facebook and Twitter, creating a Facebook presence, doing short, regular updates that are relevant to them, have the emotional bond, and show them the benefits. If you look at the Kiva loans, you pick to support a guy in Kenya to buy a tractor. They tell you where the money's being spent, you see it coming back on your bank account, and you get a picture of the guy driving his tractor in Kenya. You've closed the loop. It's engaging, it's relevant, we know what happens to our money. Now, whilst we're talking about the online, you will still need to do everything that you do in the physical world. You will still do lunches, you will still do the Bunnings barbecue, you will still do the Easter show. Why? Because people still want to engage, they still want to interact, they still want to talk with each other. But, remember I said at the beginning, how do you make this relevant? You extend your reach. So, if you were fundraising tonight, when you were going around doing the fines, you could all get your iPhones out, potentially, and you could have issued fines on your iPhone. But what's more, Boobin, sorry to pick on you again, didn't make it tonight because he's doing a lecture elsewhere. So he says he's actually at home watching, what's the one? MasterChef? Kitchen Rules? MasterChef. Kitchen, anyway, he's at home watching White Kitchen Rules. You can text him and fine him. He can get on his iPhone and pay his fine. You're doing the lunch for the Westmead Hospital. You can issue a challenge to which table raises the most by doing tipping competitions, sweepstakes, and all those other fun things whilst the dinner is happening and whilst the guest speaker is droning on and on and on. At the end, the one that pays table that's raised least, go whack them another fine. So it's how do you take advantage of the real world, combine it with the virtual world. How do we go back and re-engage the younger generations who this is the way they communicate. They don't go into a room in a meeting and herd cats. They just text each other, SMS each other, Facebook each other, Twitter each other. They have their meetings on here. So it's both. And the other one is LinkedIn. I was chatting with the president, mentioned LinkedIn. Who is not on LinkedIn?
I was.
You was. Okay, all those who are on LinkedIn How many people are you connected to on average? 20, 40, 100? 40 odd. Okay. 3. Anybody more than 40? Anybody less than 3?
About 1,000.
About 1,000. So you actually have more people connected to you than listen to Alan Jones.
That's not hard.
Not quite, but almost. Anyway, you get the message and the drift. So what I'm going to do very quickly here is to escape out of this. Quickly bring up a web browser and do a bit of shameless self-seeking promotion. This is our dev and test server rather than production, because if this was production, real money would now be moving around the world. So please ignore the little banner on the right-hand side. So I'm logged in as a representative of Hawthorne High School, hypothetical school. Oops, sorry. Here, we're raising funds to build a public school. In this period, we've received $77,000 from 5,000 users, and we contributed $542. We are connected with 7 friends, 25,000 organisations. You get the drift, so you get a snapshot of where you are and what you're connected with and all those sorts of things. Now, I can just go back to the top. Right, so I want to set up a fundraising campaign. What should we raise funds for? Sorry? A new hall. A new hall for St Ives Rugby. Sorry about the spelling, guys. The organisation that we are raising funds for, it will be Eddie Ovid, exactly. We want to raise we're trying to get it done by August. We need to raise, well, Eddie Ovid, I was going to write 5 million, perhaps I should do 10 million for Eddie Ovid. Yep. If I need a approval number, if I will get one. If not,
Idiot, make it up.
because this is not a registered charity, we don't need an approval number. If this was a registered charity, the approval number would appear. I would click save. That campaign is now created. I then say, okay, I'm going to hit my friends up with a tipping competition. You can see I've got my campaign listed there. I've got no tipping competitions underway. NRL tipping competition 2013. We're going to offer the winner a bottle of wine for first place. In second place, they get a cup of coffee. Okay, I'm done. I hit save. I'll save that. Now, what I do is I'm now going to go off and tell everybody about it. Now, I've done something wrong here. My technology demonstration is going to fail. Let me seek a donation instead. Sorry about that one. So, the public school, so we're looking for donations to buy a hall. We put a link for more details. We were talking about the Sydney Morning Herald, so we'll just put that in a minute. Okay, and we need those donations by today, and done. Okay, now seek donations. There we are, one there. See, keep smiling. Right, send a reminder. Okay, now, everybody that this organisation is connected to, which has been set up before, has now either received an email and or a text message saying, come and contribute at that site for this purpose. You're bored on the way home on the train, you get a little text message coming up or an email message popping up. You know it's from Gavin, our distinguished Sergeant. You have an interest in Hawthorne High School. You know that Gavin's a nice guy.
Oh.
You know where the money is going. You will say,
He needs some help.
yes, I will probably partake or help him out. So here, I'm just going to walk into the crowd, and can I have a volunteer? You have to remain seated and do nothing, but like the magician, you just have to confirm that I'm not telling porkies.
John Steele over here is volunteer.
We believe you.
So, now, here's your $10 to say all the right stuff. So, you see here, we've done a search for the friends. Yeah, that's okay. And we pick a sweepstake. We pick Adelaide to come first, Brisbane Lions to come third, Collingwood to come second, and Essendon will come last in the NAB Cup. There we are. Done. $2 has now gone from John's account to the bank account of Hawthorne High School.
I'll make dollars ahead.
Now, what will happen is all your friends will contribute and partake. We'll get the results of the NAB Cup, and John will have won a bottle of wine. So, without wanting to do any more commercial plugs, what I want to do is throw it open for questions and comments, and please feel free to ask questions to me about using technology to raise funds.
Yes, D.
Yes, sorry, your name?
D.
I'm Dee.
Dee, lovely to meet
I'm
you.
fairly technologically savvy,
Yep.
and I'm afraid if I got an email from anyone I really didn't know, and the URL from where that email came, I would just delete it automatically. Now I get emails from Australia Post, you name it, all sorts of things which should be. FedEx is another one that's coming lately. And it's not coming from a FedEx.com or anything like that. And telling me that I've got a parcel that's trying to be delivered and all that sort of thing. And I just automatically delete it because I know if I link on that, I'll have some awful virus.
Yep.
Now, I think if you consider the age of most Rotarians and their technological ability, I don't think this is going to work in Rotary.
That's okay.
Because most Rotarians, A, don't trust the internet, B, don't trust text messages, C, can't use text messages fairly effectively, C or D, sorry, we have a Facebook site for our club, and I think there's probably about 3 people that ever go there out of 45, whatever it might be now. We have a Twitter account somewhere. Nobody goes there. I do. You do. You're the only one. I think most of us are fairly suspicious of any kind of unusual technology message that comes through to our mobile phone or our email and just delete without checking it out, because we suspect that if we check it out, we're going to have a nasty Trojan on our machine. So how are you going to overcome this in a community of 65 pluses? I don't think you can.
Okay, I'll raise to that challenge. I think you've raised a really good point. First one here, if you don't know the email, you are not interested in it, you just delete it. Simple. People find it hard to say no. Making it as easy as you can to just delete the email, ignore it, makes it as easy as possible. The thing is that it prioritizes your expenditures. Because, as we talked about earlier on, you have to support 6 or 7 different interests. You get hit all the time to support things that you're not interested in. Great. Just delete them. Prioritize your household expenditures on the things that are important. Now, I don't know how effectively you use Facebook and Twitter, so I can't comment on that.
Majority is not effectively at all.
That's right. And you alluded to the question, how do you engage over 60s? There's your answer. Who is the biggest group in society that is doing courses around technology? Who is the second biggest group of users of iPhones?
Over 70s.
Correct. Why? Because that's how they interact with their grandkids.
How many know really how to use it though? How many just use 1 or 2 very basic functions?
That's okay. But the issue becomes is this. Any grandparent can say, I'm not going to bother with Facebook and Twitter. I'm not going to bother with social networking. They're doing, not only are they cutting them off from their grandchildren, that sort of thing, that's their choice. But the over 60-year-old doesn't have to use this. All they have to do is give the credit card to the grandkid to put $10 into their online funds account to go off and make contributions with. And the grandparent can sit there with their granddaughter and say, I'm going to put $20 into your online funds account. You go use this to raise funds for your swimming team. Once you've spent that $20, it's gone. I'm not giving you any more. The grandparent can interact with their grandchildren and teach them how hard it is to raise funds, how hard it is to get money into the household, and how to go manage their funds whilst having fun, whilst interacting with their grandchildren, or children, or aunts, nephews, and nieces. Now, this is not going to be for everybody. The purpose of the talk is not to get everybody to buy in and go use the platform. The purpose of the talk is to say, these are some of the things that Rotary can consider. Now, let me ask you a question. Do you regularly send out relevant posts from Twitter?
No.
Right. So, why am I going to read your site? It's like me. I don't send out relevant posts from Facebook, so I've got hardly anybody on Facebook following me. I do quite a lot on LinkedIn, business networking. A lot of people engage with me on LinkedIn. So it's this chicken and egg. Once people know that a Rotary club is consistently sending out valuable information to them on Facebook and Twitter, they will engage.
You know what's happening now for people over 70s? I spend between 10 o'clock at night and midnight looking at my email, let alone.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm frustrated because it's taking my time.
Yes. Now the question becomes: yes, there's a way to make better use of email, not spend all your time on email and that sort of thing. You can get texts, you can get emails, It's linked into Facebook, it's linked into Twitter, that sort of thing. So let me give you one quick example. You text 6 friends to come and partake in a tipping competition. Those texts cost you, let's say, 20 cents a pop. 10 cents of that is a contribution to the grassroots organisation associated with the campaign, and 10 cents is going to Telstra or Optus to cover your texting costs. If you are technology aware, if you are of the younger generations, they don't think about that. It's just done automatically. It's taken care of. But this is the challenge that we all have as a community. Justice Fairfax has the challenge of how does it change its business model to meet the internet age? How is it going to survive the decline of printing? To put it in its most simplistic form, if a charity, no matter what it is not finding a way to engage with the younger generations via Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, online games, whatever it is, they are missing out on that audience. We have a charity in Melbourne, one of the longest and most reputable charities in Australia. 95% of their donor base is over 50. Their donor base is drying up. They're still getting the government grants. Government's demanding more, giving less. One of their biggest challenges is how do they make their charity relevant to under 30s? Because that's their next donor base. Because as their director of fundraising said, if the 70s don't care about an iPhone, that's their problem. They're going to be dead in 5 years' time. This charity is still going to be here. What am I going to do? Sorry, that's not my words. That's his. Please, carry on.
I think as far as Rotary is concerned, we'll probably make far more use of BPay and PayPal.
Yes.
Just for day-to-day transactions like paying our Rotary dues, paying our dinner fees, and that sort of thing.
That's right.
Donations to the Rotary Foundation, and that sort of thing. Bills, etc. I really can't see too many Rotarians paying out using either PayPal, BPay, or whatever else you might like to use to an unsolicited request for donations to a charity that they weren't warned first that was going to come.
That's right.
And particularly if it had a URL or an email address that they weren't aware of.
Exactly.
I
So
think
this is
most Rotarians, I mean, if I got the one from that, I just delete it.
yeah, that's okay. But you see, there's 2 key points in there. One is making payments. Okay, you can do that on the system. You can take advantage of BPay, PayPal, and all those sort of things. Great. Second one is it's the integration of the physical with the virtual. If you were to just send an email out now to 200 Rotary members, say, pay your annual dues using BPay,
You probably wouldn't get too many of them.
you wouldn't get too many of them. If you told them that you're going to do this, you were going to move in this direction, and we sold them how easy it was to pay by BPay, and that Rotary got 3% back on every BPay transaction,
Then they would.
you would get a lot more people taking it up.
Well, I think they trust BPay.
That's
they
right.
Trust PayPal, but not if you have to put funds into PayPal first. If PayPal do a direct debit or something like that.
That's right.
You might get them to trust a little bit more than having to put the funds in first.
Yep,
I mean, I use both of them. It's
that's right.
But as far as unsolicited emails at fundraising, I look at it more or less as a Nigerian scam.
Yeah, that's okay. No, that's good. Because also we didn't get into it. You can do payments, you can do BPay, you can do PayPal, and all of those sorts of things. Sorry, go on.
Sorry, Keith. Just to address it over here, basically, it is actually not unsolicited emails coming through. Somebody who is the president of Rotary is sending an email out to all the Rotarians saying, we are doing a fundraising. So the moment that comes in from somebody who is known to you, A, it does not land up in your junk or spam emails. B, you know where it is coming from. So the question that you're raising about it being unsolicited, that of course is taken care of straight away over there. And once you know that the email is coming from a known source, the URL obviously then also becomes a known URL basically, and then the whole cycle starts to work from there. Does that answer?
Yep. Again, this is part of this thing. You know who it's coming from, you know where it's going, and it's tagged for that specific purpose.
Provided you know it's junk, it's not junk in the beginning, you tell it that it's not junk the first time.
Yes, there has to be a mechanism to do that, and that happens.
People would just put it as
Yeah,
junk.
that's okay.
It
Yeah,
would go to junk and never see
yeah,
it.
that's okay, and that is true for a certain number of people. Now, what will happen is people are not just going to send you an email and say, pay your Rotary fees using this. They're going to tell you about it. Yeah. Then you'll get the email, and some people will still think it's junk. Absolutely, that's fine. They're not accustomed to it. But all of those that are accustomed to it doesn't present a problem to them. I don't regularly put my life up on Facebook. 3.5 billion people do. Yeah? It's not my cup of tea. 3.5 billion people do. So this, using all of the tools available, not just one, not just dismissing the existing ones, not going totally online, not picking a online option, it's doing all of them and integrating them together. That is how you engage, that is how you extend the reach, that is how you get the younger generations involved, and that is how you keep having fun.
But Rotary is not the younger generation.
Do we have time for questions, President Brendan? Okay, and who is casting the vote of thanks? Oh, DG Brian. I think, please forgive me, the two wonderful people who want to ask questions. Keith will still be around and he will answer all the questions, but for the sake of expediency, past District Governor Brian Coleman, please welcome him for the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Chairman Bouvain. I actually attended my first meeting of the Rotary Clubs and Lives exactly 25 years ago tonight. One of the interesting things about Rotary is you're always learning something new. And tonight, for the very first time, I saw somebody introducing a speaker from his phone. So I thought, well, this is technology, I must try this. But I can't get beyond 2028 on Wednesday the 13th of February, which is what it says here. So I'm going to have to give a vote of thanks by the traditional method of making it up as I go along. Actually, Keith, thank you very much for a talk which I would say was enlightening, although I suspect some people here are not quite as enlightened as others. And I think Dee has encapsulated some of the difficulties which you face in trying to put over these sorts of ideas. But the most important thing is that you have stretched our minds a bit. You've made us think outside the square. You've made us think how we can capture this great universe which we now know as the internet in a way which will help us promote our objectives of raising money in particular. A lot of the communication we would need to do, of course, it's not with other Rotarians, it's with the public at large, and it's trying to find ways of getting to them and to giving them some reason why they should support us, which has to form the basis of anything we do. I'm not convinced that we're going to rush into it and do anything exciting in the next few months about this, but we have got something to think of. If we don't try to do these things, then we really are going to get left behind, and we're going to find ourselves a little isolated generation of Rotarians who have lost contact with the vast audience of people. And bear in mind that the vast majority of the world is younger than us, and you know, we do need to do something about it. So thanks for opening our minds. We've had a very entertaining evening. There's been a lot of back chat and conversation and questions, which I think show that you have in fact tickled our fancy in one way or another. And hopefully some of it will lead to something we will do which will improve our performance in the future. Now, normally at this stage I would be presenting you with a certificate, but I think Russell Crofts, who produces these things, has gone off on holiday, so I can't give you a certificate, but I will tell you that as a result of your coming here tonight, we will be making a donation to the Rotary Foundation, which is Rotary's charity, own charity, and that will be used for doing good in the world. Thank you for coming along, Keith. Would you please show your appreciation to you?
Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Keith. Over to President Brandy.
Right. Thanks, Keith.